live and welcome everyone to another office hours event. This time, everything supposed to be correct. We had the title changed. It's the correct date. It's the correct year. So you are definitely in the right place if you are watching this. Um, and before I'm going to present the very special person that I have here with me on this stream, I'm just going to address the fact that we are streaming this session to our YouTube channel, to the X or Twitter, to our official account, and to LinkedIn. So just consider switching to your preferred platform to consume this or to engage with us through the chat or something. But if you, for example, prefer to engage with us via X, just make sure to tweet those things under the stream, and we will see all the questions and we will address everything as they go. With that being said, again, welcome, happy Wednesday, and hello, Mr. Tomer Barnea. How you doing, man?
Hello. Good. It's we're getting hot days here again, but good.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't entirely sure or remember what was the last time. When was the last time you been in the office hours? Do you recall, or like what were the
Um,
last event that you participated in?
it's I think it's been some time. I think the last one was probably one of the full releases that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that was the last one, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
correctly. But yeah, it's been some time. I think Dima was here for the most time.
Yeah.
I'm just
Um,
I'm throwing Dima to do those stuff, and
no, it's
I'm
cool.
walking away.
It's definitely all. It sort of makes sense. And I also going to point out right away that this is not the usual office hours because we could not address all the technical questions the way that, for example, Dima Grossman, our CDO, would have, especially with sharing the screen and everything. This is a bit of another format, a bit less the casual of what we have. I
You can
guess
see
it's
keep
going
it
to be,
casual.
yeah, let's keep it casual. Yeah, exactly. So here today, and to those who don't know who Tomer is he is the CEO of Novu. He's co-founded with Dima this amazing thing that we are currently discussing and have a huge, enormous community around. And so today we decided just to have a bit of a different conversation, because we have some things that we would like to discuss, we would like to share, and I think that Dima have, sorry, Tomer. I'm so used to having Dima here.
Almost. Almost.
Almost, yeah. That Tomer could address. So with that being said, Tomer, you, as many other people, probably got you saw that Redis, the very popular and very used package that people are using, has recently changed their open source licensing, and I wanted to use this medium to actually share your thoughts and your view, and of course share the perspective of Novu as an open source company and a project. So please, if you want to give some more context to what really happened and what it means, please do.
Sure, with pleasure. So, looking into what Redis did in the last update to their licensing, they're actually following the footsteps of many other deep infrastructure company like MongoDB or HashiCorp, um, and we see that coming more and more. Um, Looking high level into the majority of them, the license change usually comes to one of two things, maybe both. First of all, instead of being open source, they become source available, which is one major change. Um, basically it's very similar in concept. So you can read the code, you can see everything that goes inside of it, or at least the majority of that. But one of the major changes is contributions are usually not that they're not that common or accepted. So that's one major aspect. For most users, it would probably be just fine. For more in-depth community members, people are actually working with the maintainers. It's usually get more frowned upon. The other aspect of the license change is going to be basically how it's getting affected as a business,
Mm-hmm.
how it's getting affected as a partner, how it's getting affected if you're looking to host it, if you're looking to sell it. And in those cases, it tends to differ between all of them. The majority, unsurprisingly, are choosing not to allow for free usage, and definitely do not want to allow free selling. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so you might be able to use it to an extent. In most cases, you're definitely not allowed to resell the product in any sense. And that's a practice we're seeing more and more from deep infrastructure company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there's something very important to note for deep infrastructure company. In those cases, I'll say companies that are playing on database level, or maybe real time, or any one of those who you're basically going to run this by yourself, and you're going to build your app on top of this into very low level. They have a fierce competition when it comes to competing with all the big IIS, the infrastructure as a service companies,
Mm-hmm.
the Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts. And in those cases, they definitely need to make sure that their competitive edge is there. On the other hand, those are open source technologies, right? They're built with a huge community. They can't just ignore that. Um, it's hard for me to say whether that change is a good one. I'd say definitely when you look at the business perspective, I tend to disagree quite heavily,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have a license that is very vague, right? So if we talk about HashiCorp's change last year, it was like, you cannot compete it with us. Okay, about what? What can't we? Uh,
Yeah, basically, it's just get to a very legal hurdle that people need to sort out, and like just find those questions and like find those answers to those questions. So I think it's a bit challenging. But for example, when we are talking about Novu, like I don't think, like, not to my knowledge at least, we did not change
yeah, yeah.
our licensing so far.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you're spot on. You're right. I mean, there's two main aspects to it. First of all, and as you mentioned, Novo is MIT licensed, right? So our code is available. You can
Right.
see it, you can read it, you can maintain it, you can do whatever you want. You can fork it and spawn your own version. And we think that's a must-have as you work with the community. And as a quick reminder for any open source technology, the main aspect why you created this is an open source technology, and why you want to have somewhat of a permissive license is because you want to get innovation from other engineers all across the world.
Right.
That's the basic concept of open source technologies. And to that extent, yeah, Novu is definitely MIT. I also think that Novu plays on a slightly different infrastructure level.
Mm-hmm.
Novu is not low level infrastructure, it's more of an application level infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, instead of, I would not compare it to a database, I would compare it more to a module that an engineer would build.
Yeah.
And so on that level is a bit different. Um, Updates to the application becomes much more of a crucial thing. Your ability as a consumer of the technology to understand what's going on is slightly different, and you more than often you're going to revert into reading more in depth. I mean, most people that are heavy users of MongoDB never actually had to go and read MongoDB code because it's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But in cases of, you implementing like a Novu in-app notification center, or maybe um, or maybe on Novu's actual queue manager,
Mm-hmm.
you might end up kind of understanding a bit more because you are interested and maybe you want to change some things there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it plays on a different level. I think Novu is slightly better positioned against IISs because of this aspect, which allows us to be even more permissive
Mm.
and work with our community even more in depth and allow them to touch things that, in a full-on low-level infrastructure, I might be a bit more afraid to do. So right now, I don't see any license coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
And license not coming up soon. We're staying definitely true to our MIT and kind of open source license.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic, and I think we're definitely going to see more and more of those businesses are updating. I tend to think that the devil is in the details in those cases. Yeah, you want to go be a bit less permissive, fine, but you still need to make sure that you're true to your community, and definitely that you're true to your businesses and partners that you're working with, because you don't want to put them in a very odd position where they don't even know whether they can keep on running this.
Yeah. Like I guess once you kind of add even a slight detail to an maybe non-verbal agreement, or just a partnership, or even just a relationship in general, you just kind of put in a new line, a new kind of way that the dynamic might change, and this is basically could create very damaging trust issues, or again, business implications that would go a long way. So it's definitely something that to be very cautious about. So you definitely slightly touch this from a business perspective, like how products and businesses supposed to approach this kind of question or topic. But I would also like to get your 2 cents on, from a developer perspective. Like we have many developers that are participating and contributing and very active in Novu's community, and in other communities that we are having lots of different partnerships with, and collaborations. So what, from your perspective, even as a CEO of an open source product, what do you think that a developer should consider as maybe even like a small best practice when deciding to take on or consider a particular kind of open source solution to their thing, to their project, or maybe even to their business side hustle or something?
Yeah, so listen, I think context means everything, right? So if I'm a small business or a small kind of a small project,
Mm-hmm.
I might be okay with all of these new changes. But if I'm a big business and I'm intending to grab a project and build my livelihood based on that project, and I'm assuming it's going to stay free, I'd say go ahead, read the full on license, understand what is your implication, because sometimes the license is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
In those cases, it's very easy to understand what you're getting into, right? What is the underlying contract you're just signing and you didn't know?
Right.
And as engineers, we know that, right? I mean, we know that if we're going to take a GPL account, a license, it's going to be vastly different than we're going to take an MIT one. We know
Mm-hmm.
that intuitively. We know that if we're seeing like this, someone invented their own license, we're going to be very cautious about it because I have no idea what you're reading there. And well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to read everything. So
And
if I don't,
especially when people or like project owners are going kind of outside the lines and not going like in the structured way of doing things, yeah, it's definitely even like intuitively, it's a bit of a red flag in a way, right?
it is actually in big companies. they have. It's very common to have for due diligence concerns.
Mm-hmm.
You run new projects against known license checks just to make sure you're not introducing any new liability to the company. It's very common for engineering practices, mostly by security teams,
Mm-hmm.
enforcing that to have checks done
Mm-hmm.
before an implementation of new library. So it's definitely getting checked in bigger companies. In smaller ones, I'd say again, it's a matter of context, right? If you're running something and it's small enough, or it seems like the concern is small enough, go ahead. I think it's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you're implementing something and just go with a very clear example. What let's say you're implementing NA10, right? Everyone knows NA10.
Mm-hmm.
Good project. There's a difference whether you're implementing NA10 internally in order to promote better internal automations, or if you're going to build on top of N8N in order to give your customers automations within your own solution. Those are
Yeah.
two vastly different things.
Exactly.
If you're planning to do the latter, I would say just make sure that you know exactly what you signed on, because N8N doesn't necessarily, and to be honest, I don't know their specific license, but I would assume they don't necessarily have incentive to support that.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me there might be some competition there by design. In
Mm-hmm.
those cases, I would definitely read the license a bit more in depth. Obviously, if you see it's an MIT license, then you're good. But in a lot of
Right.
those cases, you definitely see what we've seen with Redis, where they're adapting somewhat of of a server-side business license as well as some source available license. And in those cases, you definitely need to read the extra clauses to understand what they allow you and what they basically do not
Mm-hmm.
as you implement this.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. All right. Thank you for clarifying this. With the I think 12 minutes or like 13 minutes that we have left, we do encourage like any one of our listeners or viewers to maybe submit a question somewhere here in the chat if you are on YouTube, or tweet it on X, or just put a message in LinkedIn. Or if you don't think, and we probably, if it's something a bit more complicated and it's something that you would need time to elaborate and really express the best way possible your particular maybe use case or challenge, that then just come to our Discord server, and you can be sure Tomer is there. Tomer is there, and he's very active, even for a CEO, which is very surprising. And but yeah, Novu is a surprising company. But
Support is always important, always.
yeah,
I mean, it's super important.
exactly. And our Discord server is not necessarily only for providing support for novel issues and queries. It's also a place for developers and people to connect with one another and potentially be a bit more just of a tech community. Like we still building this up for to and shaping this up to be something very special, but it's already there. It's already kind of has those ingredients to help you in your way and in your particular kind of journey. So again, if you have a question, make sure also to just join to our Discord if you did not do that already. Meanwhile, with the time that we have left, I would like to slightly pivot, because we talking about open source and licensing and kind of free and kind of how those things are tying up. I think that it would be a very clear direction to a recent change, or something that we are at least now testing within Novu, which is experimenting and kind of understanding the change that we can do with our pricing model. So, Tomer, could you please maybe address this?
Yeah, sure. Just to give like a bit of a bigger context of what happened was, um, I think 3 months back, We've introduced new pricing to our website, and well, one of the good things is being open source. You get a lot of people are talking to you in any given day,
Right.
and what we ended up learning was that two main insights out of the new pricing page that we released, and the new pricing model that we've released was, first of all, the pricing was in general too high, right? So the actual number was way too high. As people are trying to evaluate why they would choose Novu Cloud, um, they were getting into a position where it was too costly for them. They were being a bit cautious because of that, right? Because you don't want to onboard to a product where it seems like from the get-go it's too pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one aspect of this. The other one was the the range, or I'd say the different bands of notifications or events as we count them. So each one of the bands that we had before was smaller than it is today, meaning if you were in the, for example, 250,000 to 500,000 band, it would cost you one, and as you would grow, the price would gradually get smaller per event. Those bands were too small for big businesses to be able to adopt that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you try to align the needs of a small business, or maybe someone who is part of the community and just want to run this, and they're looking for usually a small price range, which is acceptable because they're not a business, or they're a business in initial stages. Those are
Yeah.
vastly different than, like 1,000, 2,000 employee business. In those cases, because we had a very tight bands, the pricing would grow much higher, much quicker, um, which would get them into a state of unpredictability in price,
Mm-hmm.
which is not just the issue of the actual cost as much as it is of an issue of budgeting and forecasting, right? Because
Right.
if you're adopting a vendor, and it costs you 5K, 10K, 20K for the first year, you don't expect that to necessarily grow next year to 400K, right? It should
Right.
be reasonably.
It would be
Uh,
surprisingly bad.
uh, Unless there's like huge spike in usage, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Moved from 1 million to 2 billion, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, mostly what we've learned was the bands were too narrow. So basically, the new prices that we just introduced is addressing these two insights. So first of all, the overall number is significantly lower. That
Mm-hmm.
one easily should be much easier to most of our community members, to small businesses, to medium businesses. That should allow them to adapt much quicker. And then the other aspect is for bigger businesses, the new pricing giving much smaller, much tighter bands, give much more predictability in pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two main changes that we've introduced. We've just released it as a silent launch early this week or end of last one. So it's quite new, but we do think it's going to work much better with our community, with our open source community, and also to our businesses, right? I mean, I think that the new prices are lower and should give much better starting point for most people because the bands are wider.
Yeah. And given the fact that when we started Novu and gradually developed to be at where we are now, we already had customers and users that saw and received the value that we are providing, and we are continuing to provide and continue to develop a bunch of new features. We are continuing to develop like bunch of new approaches, and I'm going to also slightly touch another point which we discussed with Dima 2 weeks ago, where we and I was, even as someone from the team, I also kind of was surprised from the current change for the pricing on a good side, like the fact that it even more accessible and even more kind of could have people enjoying what we are done and what we are continue to do. This is an amazing opportunity, and I think that it's kind of I'm really excited about it. So like overall speaking, now.
I agree to 100%. I think I can share that as an open source user and an open source customer. One of the frustrating moment is using an open source technology, enjoying the technology, having fun, run this by yourself, and then saying, okay, you know what, now it's time to it's business time, right? Run it for me. I want to get this extra feature that you're building, and ended up realizing that they shun you away by saying, oh, you know what, but I know that up until now you're playing for free and it was fine. Now you need to pay us, $1 gazillion or something that is way beyond proportion. Just show you my age, right? I'm super old.
Gazillion, yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay.
but I should have a cat and do a slow spin on my chair. Uh, but it's frustrating realizing that the community was not built for you, but you're part of the community.
Right.
And so that was why it was so important for us to respond quickly to those insights and not wait. By the way, to all of you, I mean, there's no reason why you would know that, but originally, as we released the prices, we intended to make the first kind of potential change after end of April, but we
Mm-hmm.
ended up seeing by mid Feb, we've already seen all the new updates, all the things we need to update, and so we started just working on the new pricing and releasing it as fast as we can.
Yeah, this is definitely crazy. And to those of you who might not know, our team is also kind of rapidly growing in terms of different departments and staff and developers. This is kind of going in a crazy rate. We're getting so much high quality talent and people with so many new and insightful perspectives that we are benefiting from on a daily basis. And this is something great. And I think this is partially the reason why we rolled out this kind of a big change even earlier, like how we managing to do those rapid iterations to what we are doing to just make Novu better, but not just the product itself, but also how it perceived and how uh, the users, how you can consume it better, and how we can bring you and just provide you the best value for the buck that you can have for what we are offering. And kind of this is what we aim for. And with the, I think, 2 minutes that we have, I would like to get your thoughts even slightly about the new approach and the new horizon that we are marching towards, which is the Echo SDK. Could you just share your brief perspective around that? Because I know that you are also very hyped about it, and you also participated in the ideation of it and like how it actually going to move forward. So just please briefly do that before we'll wrap this up.
Sure. So I'm actually going to address one specific thing that this new capability gave. It's something that our new engineering leader called as notification infrastructure as code, which is like Nike or something like that. Um, and I think one of the things that we're trying to build as an open source technology is allow flexibility, allow freedom to our engineers within known constraints and known primitives and known concepts. I think notification infrastructure as code gives you a lot of this. For example, if you want to work with one content management like I don't know Next.js, or whether you prefer to work with Mazel, or maybe that's going to be MJML, or you want to write your own Slack blocks or whatever that may be. Um, then with the new capability that Echo provide and notification infrastructure as code provide, you can definitely do so. I think that's broadly what we're looking to do, which is empower engineers to work on things that we think should be easy for them, and give them the flexibility and capabilities on things that they don't want to build.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think Echo and the way it works gives you way more capabilities on that end. So I'm definitely excited about that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the way that you can consume it, and the way that new users are going to be exposed to it, where it's just entirely different approach. It's much like we started as a open source infrastructure for notification for developers. Right now, it's even like add extra for developers. It's even more towards that, and I'm personally really proud of that. I know that the team is very hyped up about it, and very proud of that. So this is definitely crazy. So we're going to wrap up this amazing session with Tomer, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, Tomer.
Same here. First of all, I want to thank all everyone who came here and spent their their time here with us. And I had a lot of fun. So by all means, if you want to invite me again, you know where to find me.
Yeah, I think it was a very like slight nudge hint towards yeah, got it. We wrote it down.
As you know, I'm very secretive and tend to
Yeah.
not raise my opinions at all. So
So we are having those sessions every 2 weeks. Next week we might have someone else from the team, and we're just going to keep you posted. Just make sure to even join our Discord and add this office hours event to your calendar. We're going to be here every Wednesday, like every other Wednesday. And we're really hoping to see you here with us as well. And if you would like to propose any particular ideas for this session, for what you would like to see, for what you would like us to talk about, to present, to demonstrate, to explain, just please feel free to reach out to us, to any of the team. We are very approachable. I don't know if it if it gives that sensation or not, but we are in almost all the mediums that we are actively participating in. So please feel free to do so. So again, thank you everyone, and we wish you great rest of the week. Bye bye.